Hello everybody, I hope I'm audible right now, and let's simply continue from where we actually left the last time. So coming back to this, we were working on this particular section, mainly renaming the page as well as deleting the page. So as for renaming the page, it's sort of working as well. Let's click enter. So this is done, and we can even delete the page, and once the page is deleted, we'll automatically be redirected to the default export is not a components board id page. Interesting. So that simply means there is something wrong with this, and that wrong thing is the page. So I have to just simply get the logic right over here. Let me close everything, save it. Autosave is already on, so what is the problem? Anyway, don't save, bhai, doesn't really matter. Don't save means what? Left sidebar. Oh, there is something wrong with this. Just a minute. What it is asking for? Editing page ID. Alright, this seems to be alright. And if I just simply close this, hopefully, even we have to fix this part. So whenever we delete the page, handle delete, so set open to false, that is okay, especially when we are deleting this, and we are just simply calling on delete over here. When it comes to this on delete, ultimately handle delete. So over here we have the previous pages, and once we have these previous pages over here, remove this await delete page id, that is okay. We are deleting it from the db. We already have the previous pages over here. If the deleted page was open, route to another one or the dashboard, that is right. So either to this board id and the fallback id, that is nothing but the page id, and then board and this, so it's gonna be just redirected there. Otherwise we are gonna be setting the pages with the previous pages and on set delete here, that's gonna be true. This particular part over here, set pages, do we have it? Yeah, we actually have set pages as well, that's good. So that's fine too. What is the problem here in that case? Internal server error. It is trying to redirect to board id in this, when I actually deleted the last page. The default export is not React components. What am I missing here? The default export is not a React component. Dashboard, even the last board wasn't deleted. Yeah, that is right. So cannot read the properties of undefined id. So the id that we actually have here, we cannot really read the properties. Card.tsx, that is fine. That simply means it should be deleted, but it hasn't really been deleted yet. Interesting. So when we are redirecting it to this, the page id does not exist in there. That is the problematic thing. So as we deleted the last page, so whenever we are handling delete left sidebar, so first of all we are deleting it from the db, and once it is deleted from the db, we are actually redirecting it there. and once all these things are done, then that is okay. The only thing we have to take care of, that is pages and page ID. So whenever I'm deleting it from the database, so when the page is being deleted, the board should actually be deleted too, if that's the last page. We have to fix this. If the deleted page was open, route to another one or the dashboard. So if the ID is triple equals to page ID, okay, in that case filtered pages, find the page, and if the ID is not equals to page, that's actually gonna be the fallback. And if the fallback doesn't exist, that simply means there are no pages anymore. Okay, and remove page state, this will not work actually. We have the previous pages here, got it, and these filtered pages, they are coming from where? Filtered pages, pages dot filter, where page dot board ID is triple equals to the current board ID. So they are gonna be the filtered pages. And what we are doing here, that is this part. So first of all we are removing it from the state, so remove page state. Just after that we are trying to get the page with the ID. Of course that's gonna exist there, but what if I deleted it, because that's the same one. So filtered pages dot find, we got the ID of that. If the fallback does exist, the page that I deleted, if that does exist, then we have to redirect it to this one, otherwise this one. This logic doesn't seem to be right, because once I delete the page, that's removed from the state, that page is removed from the database, and if I'm not wrong, all the shapes are actually deleted as well. So shape prisma, it should have page.id, and on delete cascade, that simply means whenever the page is deleted with this particular page ID, all the shapes are deleted as well. So once we deleted the page, all the shapes are deleted. Once we remove the page from the state, it's gone as well. Coming back to this filtered pages, it has all the pages of the board, all the pages of the board. And if we have the handle delete over here, that simply means this is the ID of the deleted page. So we try getting the page over here. Once we actually have the page, then we push it from here. So if the deleted page was open, route to another one or the dashboard. So if that was open, we even got this. So ultimately we are gonna be getting the another page ID. It's not equals to, it's not equals to, right? So that simply means the fallback is gonna be another page. But what if there is no fallback? Then I should be redirected to the board and board ID. That's problematic, or that's not probably. We can create a board in such a way that even if there are no pages, I should be getting an option to create a page, right? Yeah, let's go with this. So we have the board, not this one. Board. We have the dashboard. From the dashboard we are being redirected to the board, but we don't really have the page for that. Interesting. Coming back to this app, we have the board ID, and inside the board ID we have the page ID, and this is what is mentioned there, right? If we have the page ID, but if we just have the board ID, then what? If we just have the board ID .tsx, what is the problem? If we just have the board ID paints.tsx, a file or folder already exists at that location. Actually that is this one, and there's nothing right now. Interesting. So export default function board return board with a particular board ID. Interesting, but board definitely needs to have pages, but let me try this. It is being redirected to this. So whenever I click on the board, even this thing we have to fix it. So when it comes to dashboard page, of course, so dashboard has the dashboard page, and the dashboard page actually is here. That's fine. Coming back to this, whenever I click on a board, filtered boards over here, so board card is gonna be here, and as the board card is here, so handle board card click. That is pretty simple stuff. So whenever we click on it, this is just simply called, and here we are. So once this is actually done, so we get the board info. This makes a request to the database using the board ID, and of course the result is returned, and over here we are gonna be getting the board and the pages. There could be probability that once we set pages, just a sec, once we get them, we don't need to set the pages here because the pages are automatically set. How about the images? The images are automatically set as well, aren't they? So as soon as we click on a particular page, if there are images, again the time is to go to page, and whenever a particular page loads, is that so? Not really. Whenever a board loads, so ultimately let's go to this hook, not this one. As soon as we click on this, we are redirected where? We are redirected to the editor. Inside editor we are gonna have hooks, and we have used load board, and whenever we are loading the board, at that time what we are doing, whenever the board is loaded, so at that time we have the board ID, we have the page ID, right? And use load board, just a sec. So whenever we go to the editor, at that time we load the boards, and once all the boards are loaded, we get the pages. Set boards and set this. Just a sec. When is this done? So when are we loading the page? In dashboard we are loading the page, if I'm not wrong. So come on, components, dashboard page, here it is. So in the dashboard page, are we loading the board or not? So we must be loading it in the board list, if I'm not wrong. Filtered boards, where are we getting it from? We are using the use boards directly in here. That's crazy. And this use board means it's actually coming from the state. That's fine. So in that case, let me do one thing. We have these two things in here, use load board we have, and use load page we have. This is inside the editor. That simply means this is being loaded. When we click on the editor, load page is fine, because at the end of the day we are loading the page depending on the page ID. And once the page is actually loaded, then we get the image assets, and once we get the image assets, we just simply preload those image assets, and then we set the images and we set the shapes, and that is it. Clear the history and render invalidate. That is fine. This does the job. How about the load board, and where are we using this? Let me see. So this load board is actually being used inside the canvas.tsx. So inside the canvas we are actually loading them both. First of all, we are loading the page, and then we are loading the image manager. So ultimately inside editor we are loading them. The question is that what is the use of loading the boards? So we have the board ID, we have the page ID, and we are getting all the boards over here. We are getting the pages. So we are getting the pages using the page ID. Why are we getting all the boards, and what is the use? Set boards. This doesn't make any sense. Why are we setting the boards here when we are inside a canvas? Okay, that's fine. Get boards does what? Get boards. We have to get a board with a particular ID, right? So instead of doing this, we already have the board ID in here. So it should rather be board, and I should be passing board ID from here, and get board just simply gives me the board information. That simply means, now what will I have it here? I'm returning the data. What's the response type? The response type actually contains the board, the pages of that particular board, image assets, and the members if they exist. In that case, getting board is gonna be enough, as long as we have the ID. So let's have the board, pages, image assets, and members if they are there. In that case, we don't really have to have the pages because we already got that. And set boards, use set boards. So we can just simply set the board. So use add board. So that particular board, what is the even use of setting the board here? I mean, it doesn't really make any sense, right? We have to just simply set the page info. We got the board info, that's enough. But set pages should be just simply having all the pages. We already have the board by default. And now it's probably time to set the image assets and all. So once we click on a page, so we don't even need to set the pages over here, because with the help of the page ID we can easily get the pages. And once we are clicking on any board that already has its page ID, so we don't really need to come on, that's crazy. Even we don't really need to do this inside the canvas because we already have the board info. Then what is the use of setting it all? Load page and all these things. Yeah, this is not required. So coming back to this load board, I don't think this is required. The simple reason is that we can just simply load the page, right? We will have the page ID. Using the page ID, we can just simply get the page information. Once we have the page information in image assets, we are just simply gonna be saving them all, and the job is gonna be done. So let's see what are gonna be the consequences of it. But I think it should be working anyway. Let's reload the page. we have all the boards over here. Again, this is not gonna work as expected, but if I click on this one, well, ignore this photo again. I was just simply testing with this. That's the photo of my sister. But over here, if I just simply reload the page, we are not getting any pages over here. That's interesting. So we don't get any page. Okay, now we need to use that. So use load board, and coming back to this, though we don't need to set the we don't need to set the board information, but as we load it, we need to set the pages. So when we are loading the board, we are actually gonna be getting it all. So in that case, we don't really need to load the page anyway. We are getting all the pages over here. Let them be here. But yeah, we are getting all the pages. But what could be the best way to keep these things? Because I don't think this is, I mean, this works, but how can we organize them better? We are loading the board and we are loading the pages, and these two things are getting done separately. That's crazy. In that case, when we are loading the board info, when we are loading it, use load board. So over here, using the board ID, we are getting the board information. Once we are getting the board information, we should be just simply saving everything right here. That simply means I can keep it on the right, another one on the left, and time to sort of merge the stuff if needed. So how can we merge this? To merge this, we already have a use effect in here. How about what? Get page, and we are getting the page information. And over here, what is happening? We are getting all the pages. Once we are actually getting all the pages, we can definitely filter the value. So we won't have to make the request 2 times. That is fine as well. So const page or active page, that's gonna be pages dot find, where page dot id, that's triple equals to page id. As simple as that. So this is the active page. So what we did, first of all, we set the pages. Again, we don't really need to set the information of the current board, or do we? Information about the current board, we need to set the information, because right now I'm not rendering. That's another case, but later in the future, come on, we have to render it, right? Okay, in that case I should have some kind of info button over here on the left or right somewhere, and that should be displaying the information about the board. So we definitely need to have this. And if we want to render the information, then we need to have the board information. To have the board information, we need to have a store, and that's gonna be sort of the editor store. Over here we have what the hell, what is missing? Clear history. I think this clear history We have undo history, we have redo history, we have push history, but we don't really have the clear history. Is that so? Undo stack, redo stack, clear history, and I need to have it inside the editor store. These are the types, right? So clear history, we already had it here. If we had it here, then the error should be gone. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, this is done, and the next thing is that we have eraser, frame, history, image, index, selection, shape, all these things. We don't have the pages here because this is the editor store. So let's get rid of this. Let's go to the properties one. So we have properties store, but we don't have the pages. Editor. Inside the editor we have canvas. Inside the canvas we have canvas layer, frame, text editor, context menu. There are so many things that I myself, first of all, I'm working on it after like a few days, but anyway, I myself need to understand it, like exactly how the things are being connected. So we have this editor over here, we have the properties store over here, they are separated. And how about the page information? So the store related to page is inside this page, and I don't think this is the best way to architect this. I have the page store separately. And that page store is actually outside of the editor. And similarly we have dashboard, we have the store, and we have the board information over here. So we have the page, we have the board. Ideally they are part of the editor itself, aren't they? Whether you talk about the pages or you talk about the board, can be part of dashboard, but again when it comes to this, it has set boards: add board, update board, remove board, clear board. So this can actually be the part of dashboard itself. First of all, this, got it? That is right. So this way we will have the boards. And one more thing, this board, just a minute. Okay, now the thing is that dashboard needs all the boards. Okay, over here we are gonna be setting the board, adding the board, yeah, updating the board, that will also be happening, removing the board, clearing the boards. So ultimately these things are gonna be happening where? In the dashboard section. So if I keep this board related stuff inside dashboard, that wouldn't be bad thing at all. And editor is gonna have pages, so this should be part of editor, because if I, when it comes to this, so inside this we have canvas, we have left sidebar as well. That left sidebar is nothing but the pages and page action, so that is definitely needs to be here. That definitely needs to be here. So the pages we have, so what can we do? And the pages has page APIs, so in that case API networking API, we have this page API is gonna be part of this one right here, API of course, because that is the page API. Let's delete this from here. Then we have the types over here. They are gonna be the page types. So let me go to the store, and I'm gonna have the store for the pages for that particular editor. Yes or no? So editor itself, it has many pages. Editor will have the board information as well, like the current boards. So ultimately, let me see if it doesn't suit, then we'll revert. What else? But the page information editor. Let me talk to the AI regarding this, exactly how we can architect this. Should we keep the pages info state in the editor in Excalidraw project? Yes, if pages are part of editor document model, I would keep them in the editor state, but separate from the canvas specific. So editor store will have the board pages, current page ID, shape, selected shapes, viewport history, and so on and so forth. So load only the current pages, current page ID. Either the current page or all the page, depends. Okay, it's better to load only one page at a time. That's rather a good thing. But anyway, this is not something we are worrying about. So inside the store, I'm gonna have page, in fact pages, and pages will have the page store. So we will have the page store in here, we will have the selector in here, we will have the types in here as well. Let's delete this part, and probably this board related stuff needs to be inside board, and yeah, that's fine. Now the only problem is that we have the pages over here, and we are gonna have current board here as well. Now from here we can directly delete the current board with all its pages. That is also possible. So when we delete it, at that time we'll have to reset the state. Resetting the state in the sense there's going to be no current board, and that particular board needs to be deleted from the dashboard as well. That's fine. So whenever we load the dashboard, at that time I'm gonna be running the load board, and that would just simply sort of work. Okay, interesting. Types. Page store selectors we have, and the types we have here, and similarly we have the editor. This should be sort of well working, and apart from this particular thing, hopefully it has changed everything as per the need. But let me check. Yeah, loading the page, do we still need to do this? Loading the board is fine, but loading the page, I don't think that's required. I mean, at least that's not required separately, until and unless we actually click on a page. At that time we are gonna be loading the information of the page, right? So this load page should be happening conditionally, but okay, we'll see. So not this one either. We have this. We even have load page. So we even got the active page. Which page is actually active? Now this is sort of problematic. This is not problematic. Rather, what I'll do, that this should only be running in one condition, and that is whenever the board ID changes. So load page, this is just simply getting called inside this load page, and this load page is just simply dependent on the board ID. So this use callback that we actually have. What is load page? Load page is this, that itself is dependent on this. Then we got the active page. Once we got the active page, we just simply set the pages. Not only that, once we have the page information in that particular hook, we could have kept everything inside the same thing, and that can be done as well, but that is fine for now. So over here we got the image assets. Cancelled is what? Cancelled is false. That's fine. We got this all, and await image manager. Now the thing is that, can I use image manager in here? Because the image manager is actually passed inside the load pages, and that's not being passed in here. All these things are being used inside the canvas directly. So I need to pass the image manager here directly. Once the image manager is being passed, the type is actually gonna be return type sort of like this. So we have the image manager over here. Once we actually have the image manager dot preload, we are gonna be just simply preloading the stuff, because we got sort of all the image assets. This is done. So we got the assets, image assets, for that sort of the whole board at the same time, using the board ID. So the thing is that over here we are getting the image assets, and therefore the whole page. And here we are getting the image assets for simply one page. Initially we will get them for all the pages, and later, as we change the page ID, we'll this is wrong. The stuff done. Okay, in that case, what, images are global, so when we get the board information, we should be getting all the images, so that we can just simply copy and paste the stuff. At least we are gonna have all. That's not really good idea. Okay, that's not good idea. Then what to do? Okay, so how about getting the images of like image assets of the active page. What should I do? Should I get the all the pages info or just one page? First of all, this thing. For a whiteboard editor with multiple pages, fetch all pages metadata but only current page content or the shapes. So the shapes are not gonna be there, that is fine. So we are gonna be having the board information and we are gonna be having the pages information. This is the first thing. How about image assets? Treat image assets similarly to shape, but it depends on how you modeled them. If image assets belong to a page, recommended board will have page 1 shapes and images, then fetch them together with the page. That would rather be better. Over here we are just simply sending all the image assets. We have to just simply look at the work backend as well. What should I be doing here? That is getting the board information, getting all the pages, that is also fine. Getting the members of that particular board, that is also fine. But when it comes to image assets, I'm not gonna be getting it here. Get board response. What does this page stuff contain? This part, that is fine. Image assets, it has the string and this, so ultimately key and value pair, so the key of the image asset itself. So ultimately I don't want this image assets. When I load the page, I just want to have this much, as simple as that. So we have to change the API as well now. Backend source. So when we are getting what, get board with the board ID, right? Okay, that simply means the logic is gonna be here. Create board, get boards and get the board, and then we are getting the board ID over here. Prisma.find unique, where ID is this, includes pages. Usually what happens that we are trying to get the board, right? And when it comes to the board, so pages ordered by this and image assets. Image assets should be page wise. That would rather be better instead of keeping them like this. Let's check this thing out. There are a lot of things to just do now. So if I go to the board.prisma, name, description, thumbnail, owner, update, members page, image assets we have. That's actually problematic. Why? Because once we get the board, we will be getting all the image assets. That's not fine. Or that is, just a sec. No, that's not fine. How about the pages? P for pages. We have board ID, created at, updated at, comments. That is so bad. Whew. So what to do now? We have the board ID, yeah, we have the name, background color, created at, and all these things. That is fine, but we don't have the shapes in here. So ultimately the overall schema is wrong. I mean, that's not wrong, that is working, but that's not good one. image assets. Well, it's not like board has image assets, rather the image has the board ID. That is why this is nothing but the relation, right? So if I go to the image asset, that itself is what the table. It has the ID, board ID, it should have the page ID as well. That doesn't have the page ID, that's problematic. So it has the board ID, that is good. But I want that the image asset, that we'll have to change many things, but okay, it's worth changing. It will have the page ID, that's gonna be string, and page @relation, where fields page ID is going to be references to the ID of the page, and if we actually delete the page, so on delete cascade. Either validating the field page in model image asset, the relation field page on model image asset is missing the an object relation field model page. Either run Prisma format or add it manually. What does that mean? We'll have to create the model, right? We'll see that. We have the pages in here. Even the preferred way would be this, that remove this board ID from here. Sort of like this. So whenever you delete the page board, so at that time this page will be deleted, so board ID is referenced. So whenever you delete the board, this page, particular page will be deleted, and as the page is deleted, this image asset is gonna be deleted. As simple as that. Now the only thing is that if I actually go to the page, this is the relation, isn't this? Image assets. Alrighty, the overall schema is done, but we actually still have to change many things. So right now what will happen, that board is gonna have these things. Board will have the pages, board will have the members, but board will not have the image assets. This is the first thing. And when it comes to the pages, so the pages will have the shapes, all the shapes. It will have all the image assets, it will have all the comments. Having said that, we haven't implemented it yet. And activity logs, depends exactly, we'll see how it's gonna go on. But yeah, here it is. Okay, this particular part is done, so still many things are remaining here. So this time if I go to board.controllers, so again image is not really gonna be part of this. So when we are returning the response from here, board params, that is fine, we are gonna be getting the board ID. So once we get the board ID, we'll be getting the board. Once we get the board, includes pages and probably members as well. Just a minute. Ideally, what am I expecting it? I mean, what am I expecting from it? So again, that's the editor. Inside the editor we have the pages, so ultimately we have to go to the API. So API is the part of this page API, and right now we are not even talking about the page API, rather we are talking about the board API, and there is no specific board API, so we'll have to make the request directly. We have this get board. This shouldn't really be part of, it is part of this. Interesting. So the board is the part of both the editor as well as the dashboard, so we'll have to see where to keep it or what's the right place. But as for right now, we are getting the board info. Once it comes to the board, in the response we want the board information, we want all the page information, and we want all the members information. Coming back to this board controller, so over here where board is gonna be this, so we'll definitely have the board information. I'm gonna be including the pages ordered by created at and in the ascending order. Okay, how about the members? Members are also gonna be in the ascending order. What else? Members are also gonna be okay, let's do one thing. Let's just simply order by created at in the ascending order. What is the issue now? Created does not exist in the board member ordered by with relationship and stuff and all. So board member, doesn't it have so board member is what? That's nothing but the user ultimately. Don't we have created it here? We do have it. Pages created, so whenever we are getting the board on the boards, a user is gonna be owning them. Comments activity log. Created at in the ascending order. How can we object literal may only specify the known properties, and created at does not exist in board member. So the user may exist from any point of time, may become the part of board member later. So ultimately we have to go to the board information over here, and here we have the board member, and we have joined at. Okay, so instead of having created it over here, we are gonna be having joined at, and that's gonna be fine. So this much is gonna be returned from here. If not board, then do this. If there is a board, then get rid of this for sure, and I'm not gonna be returning this. I'm gonna return this pages, and members are actually gonna be board dot members. And this way, this is something that's gonna return from here, and we'll get the right result. That simply means we are not gonna get the image manager. That is also fine. So we got the board, we got the pages, we got the members, and now we have to just simply save them. As simple as that. Active page will be the information of the active page. Okay, this is not needed. We don't really need to do it right here, like we don't really need to set the active page. Rather, once we got this, we have to just simply set the state. So in that case, set pages is already done. Set board, that's the interesting part. Now when it comes to setting the board, so we have to set the board. When it comes to setting the board, that's part of the editor itself, because at the end of the day, canvas.t6, let's simply get rid of it. What all we have here, we have the canvas layers, we have the text editor, forget about this, we have the image input, forget about that is fine. We have the frame editor here, frame name editor, what does this, okay, frame name editor, that is okay. We have zoom controllers, we have context menu that contains actually both. Okay, where is the left sidebar? We have it here, but where it's being used? Left sidebar is here, but as for being used, this is interesting. Left sidebar, left sidebar is actually being used in here. Renderer provider, that's the top level. Probably I need to restructure the things better. Coming back to this, we have this board over here, and inside this, at the end of the day, we have the left sidebar. Then apart from this left sidebar, we have this button, panel left open. Panel left open, that's just a button, okay, that's fine. When that should be visible and that shouldn't. We have the toolbar, we have properties panel, we have canvas. That simply means this left sidebar is separate. We have the separate toolbar, separate properties panel, separate this, and separate left sidebar as well. In future I'm gonna be having separate meeting info, board info. So now coming back to this, even if they are separate, but they are part of the editor only. So when it comes to the editor, so inside this we have canvas, left sidebar, properties panel, toolbar, and all these things, they are part of what? They are part of this board. What is the name of it? Come on, yeah, board. So they are the part of this sort of the editor. Not really bad thing. So later in the future I'm gonna be having board information, and hence if we have the left sidebar here, so that's actually a component. So yeah, that's nothing but a component. Same thing here, we can have the use effect, which it's not really. We can have the state in here as well directly, but the page related state, left sidebar, I actually need to mention the info somewhere else as well. So in that case it's gonna be too much having it inside that, so having it inside this main editor is gonna be more than enough. So inside the editor we have the store, inside the store we have the pages, and that's done, right? Good, at least this part is good, not really bad. Now the thing is that we have two things here. We have the dashboard as well as this normal board. In both use those APIs. let me first of all let me fix this part, and then I'm gonna go ahead. So we have set pages, we have set them. Members, we don't really have the state yet for the members, so in that case I am gonna be fixing it later, but I can definitely, I don't even have the board state yet to just simply set. Again, I have dashboard and normal board editor. Now should I have two states? First one is boards for dashboard, and second one current board for board editor. Let's see, I think yeah, that is sort of obvious, so we should probably definitely need to have that. Yes, in fact that's the clean separation, because the dashboard and the editor have different responsibilities. Dashboard store is gonna be like this, and board summary would contain only what's needed for the dashboard, as simple as that, as expected. Editor store will have the current board, will have the pages, will have the wow, interesting. Image assets, we are actually using what? Image assets are being stored, but they are being stored separately, so this way is right. Coming back to this, let me have a look at this image manager first of all. Inside the image manager we actually have this map that has the images, or that is sort of storing the images. Okay, not bad. Okay, what is the next step here? The next step is actually creating a store for the board. We have editor store, has everything related to the editor, pages, properties, and I'm gonna have board. This should be part of this. Now this is fine. And let me do one thing, let me paste, yes, copy, paste it in here, copy, paste it in here, copy and paste it in here. So this is, first one is gonna be board store, selectors, types, that is sort of fine. So we actually have to create proper board store now. Okay, in that case we need to set the board information. Okay, I'm gonna take the help of AI here to just get it done really quickly. Create a board store just like this for board editor. Create separate selectors and types. Here we are. Okay, we'll have to actually customize it as per our needs, but whatever it creates or gives us, that's more than enough, right? What is this? We'll see. It just simply gonna give us the overall structure. That's what we need. After that we can just simply make the changes as per our need. Okay, let's just simply have a look at this. So what all we have the current board, that's gonna be null. We have the set current board, we have update current board, we have clear. Update current board in the sense we are gonna be updating the name of the board and anything related to that. Most of the time we are gonna be just simply updating the name, so whatever is updated just simply gonna be getting in here. Clear the board, I mean clearing the current board to this. So we are gonna be getting the delete board option as well, then this is gonna be sort of cleared. Okay, selectors, use current board, use set current board, use update current board, and use clear current board, that is fine. Types, the board will have the ID, name created. Now the question is that what all do I get from the backend side, right? So whenever I am getting the board, use load board, we are getting it here. So I'd actually like to check the type of this. So we are actually going to get these many things from the board. So as for the types, gonna be this one. ID from the backend, that's fine. Name, description, thumbnail if needed. Crazy. Is public, that can be public or not, that is right. Favorite, okay, that can be favorite as well. Owner ID, exactly who created that, updated it, that's fine. This much we are gonna be getting from the backend, and that job is done. Okay, what's the next thing? The next thing is that now we have to go to the editor and use load board, and over here page is it not being used, because we have to just simply save the board info, that is it. Const and set current board, we got the board information. We have to set the members, but we don't really have any state for that, so let's ignore it for now. As simple as the thing is that this project is huge, so the more we work on it, the more we have to work on it. But okay, this is fine. So we are gonna be having that board information now, and once we have this board information, now what all we've done, so this should ideally be running here, but this is not running here. We are actually running them here. That's problematic. Why? Because I don't have to run them inside the canvas, rather I have to run them inside the board itself. So these two things I'm gonna be removing from here. And when we are rendering the left sidebar or this and all these things, at that time image manager is already here. That simply means that first of all I'm gonna be loading the board information, and then probably I'm gonna be loading the page information just right after that. Include members later. Let me see if it can be better or it's fine. Is this okay? Load भाई क्या हो रहा है? लोड बोर्ड ही तो है. अच्छा, लोड पेज, दैट शुड बी लोड बोर्ड. या दैट इज राइट, अंडरस्टूड. तो इसको चेंज कर दो भाई. दिस शुड बी लोड बोर्ड. Let me do one thing. Give me the corrected version. Okay. Whenever it runs, each cancel is false. Then when the board actually loads, so what am I doing? I'm passing the, what the hell? At the end, each cancelled is actually true. That simply means that is fine. Load board. Load board, it actually has a callback that's gonna be boolean, and if it is actually cancelled, if not cancelled this return. So if it is actually cancelled, then return from here, otherwise simply do it. Okay, that's fine. So ultimately this is just a function that we are calling it. So callback is being passed from here, and at the end of the day, whenever we just simply call the value, like call this callback, I'm gonna be getting the value of each cancelled. I'm not even, like, we could have passed just each cancelled in there, but okay, never mind. So we got this cancelled callback. That's actually a function that returns boolean. So board id return, then set loading to true, set error to null, and get the board information. And after that, if cancelled is actually true, then return from here, otherwise just simply continue. And if there's any error and cancelled is true, then return, otherwise set the error. Finally, cancelled, if not cancelled, set loading to false. If it is not cancelled, then at that time set loading should be false. That is right, understood. So far we've been checking this cancelled, but if there's any error, so cancelled true. So if it's actually cancelled, then earlier we were returning from here, and true, then it will become false, then it will be never running. But if it is false, then this is not gonna run, this is not gonna run, but this will definitely run, and at that time it will become false. That is right, understood. Okay, so this is how the things actually go on. Quite good stuff. So we've done this part. As for this, let me just simply directly have the members in here. Later I'm gonna be just simply adding working on this part as well. And now let's talk about this load page part. So coming back to this, so we are gonna be getting the page ID. Once we have the page ID, all these things are done, and it's pretty much simple. So first of all, we are gonna be loading the board information, then we are gonna load the info of a particular page. As simple as that. We load image assets, and get page just simply returns us the info of that particular page only, that is obviously, and we are just simply saving it here. So this is sort of done already. So yeah, done. Let me give it to the ChatGPT as well if it can make it better. How about this? This is much closer to what I tried. There are just few improvements. You are using it inside the use effect handle errors right now. If get page three dots throws the error, we are not really handling the errors, so just simply handle them. Don't render unmount. So if cancelled, then return. Okay, that's fine. So this is the overall formatted version. One architectural suggestion: since you are now separating board loading and page loading, I'd also consider a loading state to this hook. Use load page, loading and error. Let's just simply add this too. And I think that needs to be added in both the cases. So ultimately it's gonna just simply maintain a state if I'm not wrong, as expected. So this is it. So it returns the loading error and reload load page. The same thing is actually being done in here with the load board or load board again. Interesting. So at the end of the day, whenever we are calling this, so const board response page response, and we can have some checks over here as well. Loading error reload, these things we are gonna be having. So let's forget about error, or let's just simply have board error. Board loading similarly. Load page loading or pages loading. Use load page. I mean, this is not the right name because there can be many pages, so correct naming. That is right. So we have is a board loading or board load error, and then this. Then later in the future, of course, we can have, like, we can implement this as well, or let me just simply say add loading and error, or just simply this. Let's see what it's gonna do. It just simply, it should be adding a state for the loading, but hopefully it's gonna be great. Since both I'd eventually combine them into single, use initialize editor. Just a sec. initialize editor, that is right, but let's continue with this much only for now. So ultimately if there's any error then this, if there's any loading state then this, but later in the future it can be combined into one state. So later create this hook, so that's gonna be a to do. Later create this hook. So we could have done this as well, like use initialize editor. That's not really a bad thing. But these things are definitely gonna be done later. Or just create it. Create this. I mean, if it can be done really quickly right now, why not? So load board information, reload, use callback, await promise all board dot reload, reload. Okay, so it's gonna be just sort of reloading them both. That's not really a big problem. It's gonna be just simply getting them done both. So we are gonna be having this use initialize editor. This is actually a hook. Use initialize editor.ts. Let's just simply paste it in here. Once this part is done, so whenever I'm gonna use this, I will have this stuff. So now what will happen, that inside this part here, instead of using it separately, this is done, is initializing, and if there's any error, so let's just simply copy it. It even gives the retry message that just simply reloads them. That's great. So yeah, so far so good, we've done it. And what is this? One thing I would change, currently use load page start loading automatically inside their use effect. That means use initializes really just aggregating their state. A cleaner architecture is to make them imperative hooks instead. Board loader, we are gonna be having the page loader, image manager, that is fine. Page loader, where they expose these, that is right. Do not call load themselves, rather initialize will be just simply calling them. This gives you on. Okay, initialization flow avoids nested effects and makes retries and future initialization steps with socket connection collaborator permissions much easier to orchestrate. It's the approach I'd recommend. That is not bad either. So what it is telling me, that right now the hooks that you actually have, they are just simply calling themselves. So instead of they calling themselves, just simply return the state, and after that just simply call it inside initialization. So let's do one thing, get them modified directly. Modify this. So ultimately it's gonna be directly returning the load. So this is it. So it doesn't have any use effect in itself right now. Earlier it has the it had the use effect. Right now it just simply has the load, and that load itself is being exported from here, so it's just simply not being called. Same thing is gonna be happening this. So right now it has the use effect. Then as we modify it, it will not have the use effect, and rather use effect will be used inside this initialization part, and that's not really a bad deal. So even when it comes to this, so it just simply has the load, but it doesn't have the use effect. Lastly, this part, it will have the use effect over here being used. So when it comes to modifying them, it can be done really quickly, so why not. And this particular part is gonna be having the use effect. So ultimately this has the use effect. Initialize dot catch. अभी क्या है भाई, errors already handled by the individual hooks. Initialize, okay. So ultimately it is just simply getting loading them both, and errors, they are just simply handling the errors automatically. That is good. And they are returning this. Once they are actually returning this, so inside canvas.tsx, not just canvas.tsx, inside this page.tsx. Now this is problematic. Why? That's not problematic. This is the board, and the board is sort of the editor itself, and if we actually have the information inside the editor, so everything is inside. Editor contains everything the board needs. That's fine. Alrighty. Now we have to check whether everything's working correctly or not. We actually changed quite a lot of things, like changed the way we have changed the state, and the main part that got changed, that is this. So now the image, whenever we are just simply saving any image asset, that actually has the page ID instead of having the board ID. So whenever we are saving the image asset, so ultimately image asset is the part of editor itself, and as that is the part of editor, we will have the APIs right in here. So if I go to the networking image API, and here we are. We actually have to a lot to change. Probably this is gonna be to do. What time is it? 10:56. It's quite too much. The thing is that earlier we were passing the board ID, so get image assets, we were getting them using the board ID. Now we actually have to get them using the page ID. That's too much. We have to change the front end part as well as the back end part, and then it's gonna be done. So to do, that's gonna be replace page ID, sorry, board ID with the page ID, and modify the logic, and this to do is actually gonna be saved in here as well, in case if I forget this. And I don't have to do in here. Readme, this is gonna be the topmost to do. Alrighty, so this is something that we have to work on, so I'll start working on it from the morning itself. But as for right now, this should be sort of enough here. This is too much. Okay, never expected. I thought of just simply making it better. Even haven't worked on quite a lot of functionalities, and there are now errors as well. Anyway, this is gonna be done by tomorrow morning. Until then, bye bye, take care, and I'm gonna be catching up soon. Bye bye.